Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy, and welcome back to a brand new movie review. I'm Chris Garner, here today to give my review on Stan and Ollie, which is the biographical comedy drama film based on the lives of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, starring John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, directed by John S. Baird. If you've been following the channel recently, or if you've seen my trailer reaction that I did for Stan and Ollie official trailer 1 when that first came out, you know of my very limited knowledge on Laurel and Hardy as a double act. Of course, I know of them, their reputation precedes them, and pretty much on like every list they tend to rank number one on lists of like the top comedic double acts of all time. But I just never grew up with their films or anything like that. My granny very much did, it was of her era. But I never got into it, and it was only until recently, like a matter of days ago actually, where I watched my first Laurel and Hardy short film, which was The Music Box. I did a watch-along commentary to that film, which you can find on the channel. But I felt like it was necessary to kind of do a little bit of, not so much research, but just to say that I've seen at least one Laurel and Hardy film before going to see this movie. And as I get into my review, I'll explain why I think that was absolutely the right decision. As we're into January now and we're getting into Oscar season, it's definitely the ramp up to Oscar season where we're getting movies thick and fast into January and February as we lead up to the Oscars. And already, although the Oscar nominations haven't come out, this has been doing very well on the awards circuit. It's nice to see that this film's got nominated for some things. John C. Reilly was, of course, nominated at the Golden Globes for Best Actor in a Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, and then at the BAFTAs the film was nominated 3 times, including Best Actor in a Leading Role for Steve Coogan, so it's nice to see both actors getting a look in at the awards season. Whether this film will pick up any Oscars, I expect it will get nominated. This film is doing very well critically, and I think there's definitely a lot to nominate this film for, which I'll get into in my review as we go through. So based on my limited knowledge of Laurel and Hardy, I was kind of wondering how this film would play out, if there would be, lots of references to all of their films, and there are some references to their films, although it doesn't focus on that inherently. And I wondered if maybe I'd be slightly out of the loop with the entire film, but it is very accessible. If you're not a Laurel and Hardy fan, for example, or you haven't seen any of their films previously, this film does a very good job, because inherently, although it is a very, very incredibly fitting tribute to their lives, it does focus on like the friendship and the themes involved with that, being this sort of aging comedy double act and the whole behind the scenes thing, because inherently when you see them on stage it is a performance, and that's what people are seeing and that's what people expect them to be like. But there's obviously a lot more that goes on behind the scenes, and I'm sure this isn't just true of Laurel and Hardy. I'm sure this is pretty much true of every comedy double act in history. You see, the peaks and the wanes and the pitfalls of working together in that close-knitted friendship, and you see, there are times where that friendship does fray, and they do go through arguments and everything like that. It is almost inherently, like, of course it's a working relationship, but you do see as the film continues this, this friendship, this bond, this unbreakable bond that these two people have. And in that regard, it was an absolute delight to watch, and that's all testament to the performances. With a film like this, it's very difficult to sort of go into it and speak at length about the film itself, although I had a very good time. With a film like this, especially being a biographical piece, it centres solely on the performances, really, and that's absolutely the case with this one. Quite rightly so. At the awards nominations, as I just mentioned, it's nice to see that both actors have got a look in here, because both actors play off each other beautifully. Although I haven't seen much behind the scenes stuff on the real life Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy, I've heard from people, from other reviews and stuff like that, that their voices are on point and their performances are pretty much bang on to their real life counterparts. And really, inherently, where this movie hit me the most was what I just mentioned, was the friendship. To see these two actors playing off each other fantastically well. Like, you can tell that they clearly did their research on the real life, like the way they carry themselves, the mannerisms, the voice. It's all there. It's absolutely all there, and you get that across in the performance, and it's an absolute joy to watch these two actors, John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan, play off each other. Both of which, obviously both actors have done some incredible work in the past, but they've never been actors that I've particularly gravitated towards. But seeing them in this movie, you can tell this was an absolute labour of love for them, and they really gave it their all to pay tribute to the real Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. I heard that John C. Reilly was 4 hours every day in makeup. I know that's there are some films where people have been in the makeup chair for about 10 hours and stuff like that, but even still, to do that every day and still get that performance through in the character and everything like that, working through the makeup, it's absolute testament to his performance as well. And Steve Coogan as well, he does have moments in the film where he delivers some very dramatic, emotional moments, and really that is what carried me throughout the film. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit it, I did get very misty-eyed through many moments of this film. And it's all testament to the writing and the writer of the film as well, Jeff Pope, who has worked with Steve Coogan before on I believe it was the Academy Award nominated screenplay for Philomena. That just naturally helps the writing as well, and they really do embody these characters, even in situations where they're not on stage, they're not performing. The way their natural mannerisms are, for example, there's a scene where they're checking into a hotel towards the beginning of the film, and you've got Steve Coogan's Laurel just like tripping over all the cases and everything like that, being very vaudeville and very slapstick, but that's just naturally sort of how the two were, and you can see how they were able to make fun of, either intentionally or unintentionally, of pretty much any given situation. They were very much people dedicated to their craft. And that's where the emotion really kicked in for me, in that as you watch it, I was getting almost Mickey Rourke from The Wrestler vibes, in that, when you've got a person who's so dedicated to their craft, they're willing to give their life for their art, thinking about the crowd reaction, and just, although obviously it comes with a lot of heartache and a lot of physical and emotional stress going on, or like all these string of tours or whatever it happens to be, inherently they are a performer and they will live and die by that. And I'm really appreciative that this movie got that across within the context of the film. And although obviously John C. Reilly and Steve Coogan are fantastic, there's even a line in the movie where the person who's sort of like arranging all the theatre shows says 2 double acts for the price of 1. And the other double act in the movie are the wives of Stan Laurel and Oliver Hardy. You've got Lucille Hardy, played by Shirley Henderson. Some people might know her from the Harry Potter films as Moaning Myrtle. And you've also got Laurel's wife of Ida, played by Nina Arianda, who is without a doubt my favourite character in this movie and my favourite performance. Every time she was on screen, what I really appreciated about her character is that she was just an absolutely no-nonsense woman. Both wives are very supportive of their husbands, like unquestionably, like they would die, they would lay down their lives for their husbands, and that was really nice to see in the film. But Ida especially, both wives are so different, and they have those moments where they bicker with each other. But it's nice to see them all connected. It's not just, the film is not just specifically about Stan and Ollie, although that is the focus. It also branches off, and we do get to spend time with the wives as well, which doesn't detract from the movie at all. In fact, it very much enhanced it for me, in that you do see these two very loving relationships, and they're essentially wives supporting their husbands in very different ways. For example, Oliver Hardy is going through a lot of health issues, and Lucille's very much... He does run around after her a lot, and they make point of that in the film, that he very much dotes on his wife completely, but they genuinely do love each other, and she is concerned when he does go through these health problems, and she would rather him retire or not carry on with the tours in order to preserve his health. And Ida, with her husband, Laurel, she wants him to have the recognition that she believes he deserves and everything like that, and that... there are moments in the film where that bond between Laurel and Hardy are brought up to question. There was a betrayal in the friendship towards the beginning of their career where Oliver made a movie on his own without the inclusion of Laurel. And that really, that has eaten away at Laurel throughout most of their lives. There is a time jump in the movie of 16 years. Which I was initially kind of against. The film starts off when they're in the peak of their career, in the 30s, mid to late 30s, I think it is. And then we jump 16 years and we get towards, as they're in their sort of like the winter years of their career, essentially. And I was expecting the movie to show some of those famous scenes, famous sketches they were doing throughout the height of their career. But when you see the movie and what the movie was trying to say, I think it's that wasn't the point of the movie. Yes, it does show the legacy of Laurel and Hardy and how people still watch their films now and people still think they're hilarious, myself included. Like, I laughed a lot at this movie. It is very funny throughout it, and seeing these two, their antics on stage and everything like that. But inherently what the crux of this film is about, and what I want to get across in this review, is that friendship. And we see that betrayal, that initial betrayal that sort of festers and eats away like a cancer throughout their career. How, they continue to go on the road, but Laurel has never quite let this go. And there's moments where he's even offered the same dilemma, where he's given the chance to sort of perform on his own and break away from Oliver. And it's sort of like the dilemma and turmoil that goes along with that, an internal struggle of the characters, and I really did appreciate that. And as I said, the inclusion of the wives, that very much enhanced the movie for me. Ida is without a doubt one of my, in a long time, like probably one of my favourite characters I've seen in a film. Just every line of dialogue from hers was just so witty, so sharp, so sassy, and she spoke her mind. I thought she was hilarious. She got all the best lines, in my opinion, in the movie. In terms of the filming, I did want to talk about this as well. The movie was filmed not too far from my neck of the woods. I'm not going to divulge where I do live, but it was filmed around the Dudley area, the Birmingham area as well, with some other filming taking place in London and Bristol as well. And the cinematography as well. Cinematography was done by Laurie Rose, and like many biographical films of this kind of era, or any sort of like older, decades past, it is given that not a sepia look, but it does look very old-timey in terms of the cinematography and the actual film itself, which I really appreciated, and it gave that more authentic feel to the movie, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, I really don't have much else I can say on this film. What I really want to get across is that this is a beautiful, beautiful tribute to Laurel and Hardy. I kind of went in with no opinions. I was more interested just to see what their performances were going to be like. That is inherently the strength of the movie, and what the movie really focuses on is the performances of these two people as it goes throughout their life, their friendship, the pitfalls that go along with that, and the pressures of performing. But ultimately, the necessity, like, these people lived and died by their art form, and that unbreakable bond that the two may have had, that professional bond which ultimately led to one of the greatest friendships, despite the bickering. It's like any kind of relationship, like, despite the bickering, you kind of, they were in it together till the end. And that's what really hit me hardest about this movie. And, watching as the credits go up, they use some, original clips of Laurel and Hardy. And just watching them in this and knowing that, they gave their all to their craft, I really genuinely do want to see more of their films now. I feel really bad that I've only seen one, The Music Box. And I was very glad that I did watch that, because there are some hints and nods there to some of their most famous scenes, including The Music Box. And I'm glad that I did watch that now, because it really did reinforce and, enhance my experience with this film somewhat. And I know that you can buy the DVD box set now, like their complete collection, so I'm actually very tempted to do that now, because I've kind of been won over by the film that I saw a couple of days ago, The Music Box, as well as this movie. I had an absolute joy at this film. It's funny, it's emotional, it's just a good time at the cinema. It is like a weirdly, although it's very bittersweet, it is a very uplifting film still. And I'm grateful now we're getting into Oscar season. I do look forward to summer blockbuster season, don't get me wrong, but I am looking forward to Oscar season, where we are going to get more movies like this. I really hope this does get nominated for a few at the Oscars. I don't think this movie will win any, unfortunately. I think it's got some very stiff competition this year in many categories, but at least to get a nomination, and it's doing very well financially as well. It was done on a budget of $10 million. It's made just shy of 250 mil. And, people are loving this movie. People having a great time at it. And that's testament to the real life Laurel and Hardy, as well as the credits to this film, in that their work is enduring, and, their work will be here and be loved by people for decades to come. And that's a really important thing. So that'll do it for my review on Stan and Ollie. Be sure to comment, subscribe, let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you enjoy this movie? What are some of your favourite Laurel and Hardy movies? Can you recommend any more of those movies to me? Anything Stan and Ollie related, or anything to do with the Academy Awards or Oscar season, please do get commenting. As I said, we are kind of hitting Oscar season now. We're very much in the road to it now, so expect the movie reviews to come thick and fast. Movies are coming out left, right and centre, and we're going to do our absolute level best to get get to each and every one of them, get reviews out to you. So there'll be movie reviews, there'll also be trailer reactions from me as and when those trailers come out. There'll also be some more of our original shows along the way. So if you've just discovered our channel through this video, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the bell icon as well so you get notified every time we go live or bring out some new content. That'll do it for me for right now, and until the next video, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.